Hi everybody, it's Christina. Welcome back to Adventures in Polished Land. Today I have a book review of The Atmospherians by McElroy. I read this as part of the American Lit Reading Challenge because it is set in the state of New Jersey, and I am so excited that I found this book through the challenge because when I was researching books set in New Jersey and read this plot description, I knew immediately that this book would be for me. In The Atmospherians, we are following a young woman named Sasha. She is a wellness influencer who is being canceled because one of her followers offs himself on a live stream event and he blames her, specifically a mean comment that she left him. And now she's being canceled. Her friends are no longer speaking to her. Her boyfriend dumps her. There is an angry mob of protesting men outside her apartment building, so she is trapped in there. And one day, one of her best friends from childhood, a young man named Dyson, he shows up at her door and he says, "Come with me, we're getting out of here and we're starting a cult." And the story goes from there. So Dyson had inherited a piece of land in rural New Jersey. It's a campground, and he decides that he wants to reform problematic men, specifically problematic white men. And the story goes from there as you follow Dyson and Sasha as they have no experience or credentials whatsoever, yet they are trying to teach this really unique group of men to be better people. But of course, they don't have psychology degrees. They're kind of winging it. A lot of weird stuff happens. It's a really fascinating and interesting book, as well as being pretty entertaining as well. What I really enjoyed about The Atmospherians is how it handles a lot of hot button topics in today's society. For example, the male loneliness epidemic is one of the most prevalent topics. You also have wellness culture and diet culture, and it talks a lot about influencers and social media. So these are all topics that I find very, very interesting. So when it is satirized in the fiction that I'm reading, I just absolutely love it. If you like books that deal with political topics or just social commentary in general, I highly recommend The Atmospherians. One thing that's really unique in this book is, although it is set in our current time period, there is a little bit of what I would call a dystopian element, which is this thing called a man horde. And essentially what is happening is men will be out and about when all of a sudden they come together sort of like a trance. They don't realize they're doing it. They don't know what's happening, but they will join up with other men in the vicinity and they will take some action. Sometimes it's something nice, like rescuing somebody from a dangerous situation. Other times it can be something really scary and bad and criminal. And it's this unique phenomenon that is happening in this world. And Dyson is hoping that with his cult, The Atmosphere, they can make sure to combat these man hordes. And of course, he wants to make a ton of money with his cult and gain notoriety as well. One other interesting thing that I liked about The Atmosphere is the writing style. For the vast majority of the book, we are in Sasha's first-person perspective, but the writing is very atmospheric. You feel like you are in the story. The writing is descriptive. You feel like you're in the bubble of this world. You almost feel like you are joining into the cult that the author is creating for you through this book. Because once I was in the story, I was so entranced. The writing is really gripping and it pulls you in, and I had to know what was going to happen. And part of this is because Sasha is telling the story from a future vantage point. So she is looking back at these events in her life, and so you know something had to happen and you're not sure what it is. So it makes it really, really interesting. The Atmospherians is therefore one of those books that I absolutely loved. I gave it a 4.5-star rating. There were a few things here and there that I would have changed or done differently, but overall this was definitely a me book. I love the overall plot line. I am somebody who loves to read a cult book. I love how it discusses so many topics that are very important and also interesting to me, like the gender equality, like the wellness and diet culture. I find those topics so fascinating and I loved reading about them through this fiction book. That being said, I do think The Atmospherians is for a very specific person. It's not the type of book that I would recommend to anyone and everyone, But if you find this video at all interesting and you like these topics and you like fiction that explores things in modern day society, I definitely recommend this book. I would say maybe look up some of the content warnings if necessary. There are some very gruesome scenes that have stuck in my brain. They were the type of scenes where I almost wanted to look away from the page as if that would help, but keep that in mind. I am definitely interested in reading more from this author. This book and the writing style was definitely for me. There were times in the book where I felt like this author really gets me, and I just really loved their writing overall. So I definitely want to check out what else they have to offer. And if you are doing an American Lit reading challenge, I would consider reading The Atmospherians for a book set in New Jersey. The setting does play a role in the book because they needed a remote campground to hold their cult, and there are many comments where they distinguish New Jersey from New York City, which I always find funny, so that plays a role in the novel as well. In the description box below, I will have a link to my playlist featuring all of the videos I'm making for the American Lit Reading Challenge if you want to learn more about the challenge or find out what I thought about books set in other states. And I will also leave an affiliate link to the Atmospherians below if you would like to purchase it for yourself. If you know about any books set in New Jersey, I would love to know in the comments, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.